How's it going, guys? I'm CTM Amygdala, and welcome back to another Call of Duty Warzone video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over what the current meta is, or in other words, what the best guns and class setups in the game are as of right now. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to click that like button, and also don't forget to subscribe for future videos. Okay, so this is going to be the first loadout right here. And the two guns that are currently the best guns in Warzone are going to be the FFAR and the Cold War AUG. These are both Cold War weapons, and they are both really good, and I'll explain their pros and their cons in a second. But first, I'm going to go over the exact class setup. So here for the perks, I'm running double time as this increases the tactical sprint. And this has been really big lately since the AUG can one burst people. You need to make sure that you're out in the open for the lowest possible time as you can. So I've been running double time this season simply because of how powerful the AUG is and how quickly it can kill. So the second perk that you're going to want to have is going to be overkill, so you have both of the weapons. And then after you get your first box with overkill, you're going to want to have a ghost class that's exactly the same with the primary weapon. So for example, for the ghost class, you'll want to run, I personally have the AUG, but I have everything else down here the same. So I have the AUG as my primary, a pistol as a secondary, which I just dropped for the FFAR that I get from the first loadout. So I still have both my guns, but now I also have ghost. And that's going to be what you pick up at your second loadout. And then for perk 3, I use Amped, which just lets you swap weapons faster, which is really good just in case you run out of ammo. And personally, with the FFAR, if you don't have this thing ranked up, this is going to be happening a lot. And I mean, like, majority of the games that I die, it's because I have to reload mid-fight. And that's with the FFAR, which is so it's personally not my favorite meta in the game right now, and that's my main problem with the gun is that it runs out of ammo really quickly. But a lot of people do really like it, and it does get the job done most of the time. So now for the lethal, lately a lot of people have been running the throwing knives, and the reason for this is because if you stick a opponent that's down, it'll delete them with one hit from the throwing knife, and it's really quick. Like you can down someone, throwing knife them, and then move straight onto the next people in duos, trios, and quads. Now, if you're playing solo, where a lot of people won't be running self revive, I would rather use either Semtex or Thermite. I usually go with Semtexes just because I prefer them over the Thermites, but you can really use either or. And if you do make it to late game a lot and find a lot of people have self-res and you're getting third-partied a lot of the time, you can still go ahead and use that throwing knife to instantly kill those downed players. And then tactical is going to be the heartbeat sensor. This is pretty standard. The heartbeat sensor is really good in early to mid game when a lot of people don't have ghost because you can really pinpoint exactly where people are without having to spend 4 grand on a UAV. And now for the actual class setups. For the AUG, I use the Agency Silencer because this gives you better recoil control while also improving bullet velocity and damage range. And it also keeps you off the minimap, which is extremely important. Now I also use the Strike Team, and I use this over the Titanium barrel because according to JGod's videos, the Strike Team is just a little bit better and has that faster fire rate over the Titanium. And as you can see with the stats, it does go down a little bit when I'm using the Titanium barrel. So that is why you're going to want to use the Strike Team over it. Now for the underbarrel, you're going to be wanting to use the Field Agent foregrip, which is once again to control recoil. Ammunition, I use the 45 round drum. You can really go with the 45 round speed also, and it doesn't hurt you that bad. I would stay away from the 54 round drums, as when I was trying to use these, my aim down sight time was getting me killed pretty much any single time I was trying to use the AUG in a fight. It just absolutely kills the aim down sight time. So you do have to run the 45 round drum. And I personally like the standard one because even though this one, the aim down sight times doesn't jump up too much, I still have a really big problem with the aim down sight time on the AUG, so I try and minimize that as much as possible. And then for the optic, I use the axial arms 3 times. If you're using the AUG for more close quarters, you could go ahead and throw the 2 times on it. However, since I run the FFAR as my close range weapon, I use this as my longer range weapon and run the 3 times on it. Now for the FFAR, I run the agency suppressor for the same reasons I run it on the AUG, keeps you off minimap, helps with recoil. And then I run the takedown barrel, which makes your bullets land faster so you don't have to aim them as much on medium to longer range players, even though you still really shouldn't be using this gun at longer ranges because the AUG just completely excels at that, whereas this has higher recoil and the hip fire on it is kind of bad, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But that's the other downside with this weapon. But strafe speed and bullet velocity are both two very important things with this gun. So I would definitely go ahead and get that in because bullet velocity, you're going to be hitting those shots faster when they're right in front of you and being able to pick people off a lot quicker than they can pick you off. Field agent grip is all recoil control, which is very needed with this gun as it has extremely high recoil. Like if you don't have anything controlling the recoil, this gun will just shoot straight up. And I found that it was very hard for me to control it when I first started using the weapon. Now, as you can see, I have dark matter, so I have used this quite a bit in Cold War multiplayer. So I have gotten a little bit more used to the recoil patterns, but needless to say, it still has very, very high recoil. Now for this one, I used the 50 round fast mag. The aim down sight times on this gun isn't that bad compared to the AUG, so I would still go ahead and use the 50 round fast mag. And then last, I used the Raider stock. And this improves the sprint to fire time, the aim down sight movement speed, and then the aim walking movement speed. And the reason for this is because you 100% want to be aim down sight with this gun. The current meta is more aiming down sight before you actually see the enemy, like pre-aiming. You want to be pre-aimed a lot of the time because the hip fire on this gun sucks. And I'm talking like I lose most of my fights while I'm trying to hip fire with this thing. But if you like try to start hip firing and then aim down sight and then correct it, you can still get the kill, but you're not going to be as accurate and kill them as quickly as if you're already pre-aimed when you get into the fight. So I find that the Raider stock is very helpful. It's also good for strafing as well, which kind of tags along with the takedown barrel. Now, the second class that is still pretty meta is going to be the Kar 98 with the FFAR. And you'll see the FFAR is just all around the best close range weapon in the game right now. It's going to be on all 3 of the classes I talk about today. But everything else is going to stay the same. For the perks, you're going to be wanting to run double time, overkill, or ghost, and then amped. Lethal is going to be throwing knife or semtex, depending on if you're playing a team mode or solos. And then tactical should be a heartbeat. Now, FFAR is going to have the exact same loadout: agency suppressor, takedown, field agent grip, fast mag, 50 round, and then Raider stock. For the Kar, however, you're going to be wanting to run the lightweight suppressor, and this just helps you stay off the minimap. You're also going to want the 27.6 barrel, which helps the damage range, the bullet velocity, and the recoil control, so you don't have to lead your shot as much, and you can hit shots from farther away as well. Lasers, the TAC laser helps you aim down sight faster and aim better while walking around or strafing, which is very good with the Kar. And why this is a meta weapon is because of how high mobility it is. It's a sniper with extremely, extremely high mobility. You can strafe with this weapon. You don't have to sit still to hit your shots. And that's what's really nice about this and why you see pro players running and gunning with this weapon, because it has just such high mobility for a sniper. And then I run the sniper scope, which just lets you hit those long distance shots. You can really put something shorter on it if you want, like a little bit shorter of a sniper scope. But I primarily use this for longer ranges, whereas for close and medium, I'll just whip out my FFAR. And then the last one, I personally have focus, so I can hit those shots while I'm being shot at as well, without it messing up my aim and everything. However, if you don't want focus, you can also run the, I believe it's the precision comb to just help you steady the weapon better so you don't kind of sway as you're trying to get your aim right onto them. Now for the last loadout is going to be the CR AMAX, and once again with the FFAR. FFAR is going to have the same attachments as the other two, so I'm not going to go into that again. Once again, perks and lethal tactical all the same. But for the CR AMAX, this is good for all three ranges, primarily medium and longer, whereas I would use the FFAR for close range. And this one's a little bit less popular than the AUG and the CAR, as the CAR is like the sniper's dream, whereas people who are good at sniping usually stick to that. Whereas people who usually play more full auto or like burst weapons will usually stick with the AUG because it does have one burst potential if you hit all headshots, and it's almost always a two burst kill as long as you get one headshot in the mix. So the AUG definitely outperforms this thing. However, this is still a very viable option if you don't like the AUG. And what I run on this is going to be the Monolithic Suppressor, which increases your damage range and also keeps you off the minimap. The Zodiac Barrel, which helps damage range, lets you hit your bullets faster so you don't have to lead as much, and improves recoil. The Commando Foregrip improves recoil and makes it so your aim isn't as wobbly and the gun doesn't sway as much. I run the 45 round mags, which is the only really larger mag option, which is definitely good for the AMAX. And then I run the 3x optic, since I use this for medium and longer ranges. And the thing about the AMAX is this gun, once again, does have very high recoil, but if you practice with it, it's fairly easy to control. Personally, I don't use this gun a lot, so I'm not a huge fan of it with the recoil wise. Lately, I've just been using the AUG and the FFAR because that's what's really top dominant right now. But if you do prefer this over the AUG, definitely go for it. However, that's going to be all the meta weapons in the game right now. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to click that like button and also don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.